So in today's video, I'm gonna show you what you need to know to be a Bangalore main, man. From the basics to a little extra juice that you might need. So hey, I got something for everybody. So hit that like button. Let's get this video supported and spread so everybody get the same info, get the same juice, so y'all can be out there going crazy, man. Let's get it. So just to kind of walk you through this video on how it's gonna be set up, man. I have over 3 different things I'm just gonna like hit as like the baseline for being a Bangalore main, which is your tactical, rotation, movement, and the ultimate. And then after that, I got some little minor stuff. Like I said, I got some extra juice. It's kind of like if you're already good at Bangalore, you know how to use her, but you just want to advance, you want to level up, you know, I got you, man. Let's go ahead and get into that tactical. So Bangalore's tactical is the smoke launcher. If you don't know, smoke is a type of concealment that will block the vision of you or your opponents or whoever, man. It's basically to block things. But don't mistake smoke or whatever as cover, because smoke is not cover. The difference is cover blocks you and defends you from bullets and other things, but concealment just blocks you, but it doesn't protect you, right? So don't get it mistaken, because you might end up on your knees if you do. So like I was saying, smoke screen can last for about 20 seconds. It gives you plenty of time for numerous usages, right? But how should you use your smokes? That's the biggest question. There's many ways, but for the purpose of this video, I'm gonna go over a couple of main things. It's like, all right, the baseline. So I should use my smoke this way, this way, this way at all times, no matter what. So the first one is going to be when there's reviving going on. So that's whether you're reviving your teammate or your teammate's reviving your other teammate. You should smoke them, because that's 2 players that are vulnerable, right? Because they can't shoot back and they're staying still. And the person that gets revived, they're going to be one tap most of the time when they stand up. So the smokes doesn't completely make it successful, English vivid, but it will give it a higher chance of you being able to reset and get back on your feet, man. So that's the first one. Next is when you're alone or your team is mass healing after a fight or an engagement. So whether you just got to a little fight, a skirmish, and you got your shield cracked, so you ran around, start popping a shield. I would smoke myself just to maximize my protection, right? You might be behind cover, but you got a third-party team come around the corner that's gonna see you heal. They're gonna, you know, say they're gonna drop you. So the smoke might help you get that heal off, or help hide you from other enemies in the area. And then for mass healing purposes, like your team just wiped out a team, you're looting boxes or whatever the case may be, and you'll have to heal because you got out of a fight. It's good to smoke just in case third parties, man. We already know how third parties are in this game, bro. Just, you know what I'm saying, just do the thing, do the thing. And next is any beacon or interactive device that keeps you or your team stationary. So what I mean is like the res beacon, where you revive your teammates after getting their banners, or the black market, or the crafter, or even just loot boxes, right? Anything that's gonna make you stand still for a period of time, right? Because that's easy beams, man, easy licks. So always smoke that stuff, man. It's really important. And the last but not least, when you're fleeing for cover or when you're trying to escape, right? And I'm gonna go over how to actually use your smoke in the situation during the movement and rotation. But yeah, man, that's very important when you're fleeing for cover or escape. So these are the simple usages that all Bangalore mains should be doing, from, you know, bots to pros. This is a baseline expectation. When I expect to, like, when I have a Bangalore random on my team, I expect them to do these things, or most people expect their Bangalores to do these things, right? So make sure you lock these simple things down, and you already a better bang. But next, we're gonna move on to rotation / movement. So this is subjective based on your playstyle. However, you get the most out of Bangalore's kit from an aggressive playstyle. But obviously, we all, you know, say we play differently, so it's all good. But as we know in Apex Legends, rotating safely or recklessly could be the difference between games won or RPs lost, man. And it sucks, bro. So pay attention, pay attention. All right, so rotating with your tactical can be tricky, because a lot of times enemies kind of like, they still can see you because you didn't throw the smoke down right, or they just guess your trajectory. That's a big word, man. But like when you run through the smoke, obviously you can tell how fast somebody's running in Apex. You know, it's kind of common knowledge. Or they'll just wait for you to come out the other side, depending on the situation, right? But however, there is times that you need to use the smokes to hide the path that you're taking for rotation. But the downside of this is letting your other team know. So with that being said, I'm gonna show you how to rotate properly with smokes to give you the best benefit for you and your team. So looking at this little cartoon picture, right? All right, man, I might sound a little different. This is like day 2 recording this video. However, we have this little drawing thing I pulled up on my computer, but I'm gonna try to give you some smoke examples. So we got the zone here, obviously, and we're just gonna assume that the enemies are in zone. We're gonna say they're like right here, and we're gonna say that we are right here. And obviously you need to rotate the zone, man. So how do you use your smokes to do so? So I have 3 different methods that work for me. And the first one is the best. Third one is common, but I think it's not the best. I don't think it's should be used that much, right? So we're gonna use this little gray color for smoke. So method number 1, we're gonna assume that the enemy right here is on height, or they just have the advantage, right? They have zone. So you throw your smoke on them completely, right? They're smoked out. And what I like about this method is, like I said, they can't see from their position. So that means they have to rotate out of that position just to get shots on you. But most of the time, these people have the advantage, so they don't want to give up their height or whatever the case may be. So that means you have free roam to rotate however you want, realistically, even if it's straightforward toward them. If you're trying to get under them or whatever the case may be. That's the reason why I like this method the most. And the next method that is common, which does work, is shooting the smoke in between you and the enemy. So not on yourself, not on the enemy, just in between, right? And basically, you're able to rotate toward the smoke. You can rotate kind of around the smoke, but as you can see, the enemy here does have this angle still. So it does work sometimes, not all the time, but smoking in between is the second option. And the last option is smoking yourself. And obviously, this ain't the best method because as soon as you leave the smoke, you're getting shot at, right? As soon as you leave the smoke, you're getting shot. But with this method, also you'd smoke yourself, maybe smoke the area you're rotating toward. So by the time you start rotating, you know, the enemy might have a way to shoot at you, but it probably less damaging based on the distance or maybe the obstacles in between, right? Just depends on the situation and where you're at on the map. But that's basically the 3 methods, right? Smoke the enemy, which is the best one. Smoke in between you and the enemy, which is the second best. And then smoking yourself would be the last and third option, which is the worst. But it can get you out of situations. But I do think smoking enemies at all times is the best option, whether that you trying to get away from enemies, whether that you trying to rotate around enemies, or whatever the case may be, right? So if you're trying to rotate this way, obviously smoking them would be the best option because you can freely rotate. But if you need to smoke in between, that's not bad, but they're still gonna get beams on you. So I do suggest smoking them, and then maybe just smoking where you're trying to run to, right? So yeah, man, hope this helps. But that's the 3 methods on smoking enemies or smoking areas to rotate through. But if you're like, I didn't even hit on this. So if you're in game and you don't really know where a lot of the teams are, but you need to rotate because of a zone situation, that's when it's kind of okay to use both smokes to block the path that you're running toward, which I already hit on. But like if you know where the enemy is, then you kind of just gotta take that risk, man. Just smoke where you're gonna run to, because at that point you don't really care if they know where you're running to. You just want to take the least amount of damage as possible, if that makes sense. But yeah, man, let's get back to the video. So now that you got your when to smoke and how to smoke based on movement and other things, we'll get into that ultimate. And a lot of people downplay the ultimate, but I think it's just misused, misinterpreted, right? I think people compare her Rolling Thunder or Airstrike, whatever you want to compare it to, like to the real life version, right? In real life combat, obviously we drop it to get the most casualties or destroy equipment, things like that. But in Apex, it's just with the timing, how long it takes for it to set off, and the path that it sets off. It's not common to get huge cracks or knocks per se. I get cracks, you know, say I'm pretty good. I'm cracked out, but knocks typically with Bangalore because it's so avoidable. So I'm gonna get into some ways to actually use your ult. Actually, before we get into that, most of us actually haven't seen the Rolling Thunder like from a high viewpoint, so you can kind of get a better understanding actually how this ultimate works, right? Throw it down, man. Kind of watch. So it lands, starting left, goes right, it goes left. It's like a snake, right? And it's just for 6 rows, and there's 6 missiles in each row, right? So then it blows up in the same path. So that's kind of like how it works. But you can see why it's so easily avoidable, because it's the same pattern every time, and there's plenty of time to receive the ult, right? For the missiles to hit the ground, and you know, like, all right, I gotta run out the way. I got plenty of time before it blows up. That's why it's so ineffective when you use it in an offensive manner. So with that being said, the best way to use the ult is obviously to evade. I think this is common sense, but basically that's where you throw it behind you or in front of you actually, and you just run in the direction where the missiles are dropping, because you can outrun them. But by the time the enemy's chasing you, they'll receive all the damage. And then, like I said, the next way is actually to change the position of other players. Is just throw it, because obviously we know it's a 6x6, so we know how far roughly, especially after you use it for a little bit, you're gonna know how far it reaches. So that way you can be like, all right, I want this team to rotate left because they got high ground, or they just got the best position in the map, and we want to rotate that way, or we want to push them into open areas so we can get beams, or just whatever the case may be. Is throw it where you want people to avoid it, because that's what's gonna happen. People are gonna avoid the rolling thunder, bro. It's not hard to avoid. And last but not least, for the main things, like I said, I already mentioned it, but high ground, getting people off high ground, easy way. It's a super easy way to get people off high ground. And I don't think I mentioned it with the smokes, but smoking people while they're high ground is actually a good way to get them off your back or to make them rotate off the high ground. But the rolling thunder is definitely a great way to make people move from their position, especially on high ground, man. So use that, man. That's a big one. So save your rolling thunder. Don't use it to be offensive, because if you throw it like to be offensive, all you're doing is slowing down your team from taking advantage of maybe third-party situations or down opponents or hurt opponents, right? Because you or your team can't push through that ult. So you're going to be stunned. I think the stun's like 8 seconds. I know I should have did some more homework. But you're going to be stunned. Your teammates are going to be stunned. You're going to take damage. So don't use it offensively unless you don't plan on pushing in, but there's many people fighting and you just want to get some damage. Or maybe pick up a knock. I don't know. I do it sometimes, I'm not gonna lie. But if you plan on pushing a team, don't ult first, because that's just a way to slow things down and give the team the chance to avoid the missiles, heal up, and then actually do a counter attack, man. So IQ, man, big IQ. So for the extra juice, man, the extra juice is kind of some things that will just take Bangalore to the next level, and that is the aggressive playstyle, which I mentioned earlier in the video. And doing that with smokes, man, like smoking buildings and just simply pushing in, either trading knocks or simply knocking somebody and get some damage on another person. But if you have digis, which is really important for you and your teammates, always mark digis for you and your teammates. But digis, along with being aggressive with smokes, just smoking buildings, areas out in the open that you plan on fighting at, or just smoking in front of you when you go to engage somebody with a digi, it's just so OP, man. It can do wonders for you and your team when being aggressive. And then as well as using shotguns, SMGs. Obviously those for digis, but SMGs for Bangalore is the go-to, man. That's the weapons. I personally use R99 and Volt, but if you're a car type of person, hey man, do your thing. And then last but not least, I think the best combo for Bangalore, which if you have a full team stack and you want to kind of like strategize, Bangalore, Seer, and Catalyst. That's by far the most OP thing you can use right now in Apex. So, hey man, hope you enjoyed the video. Hit that like button. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Hey yo, it's lit. Gangsta opera, we dumping the clip. Most of my niggas is shooting no rip, but all of my niggas is getting them chips.